Okay. Okay, sorry for that. So now it's 4:05. I think maybe 3 to go. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time, sir. Because supposedly today is typosm, which is public holiday, but and for your information, for this semester we do. I mean, a lot of our class actually clash with the public holiday, so we actually need to moderate a bit, especially on the timetable wise. So I'm Dr. Tan, Dr. Tan Xiaojian. So the course coordinator for MTAA, Multimedia Technology and Applications. So now you are in your 4th year, 2nd semester, which is the last one. You should be very familiar with all the courses, the coursework examinations, and etc. So I will not go through the entire, everything, but I still need to intro you at least the overview and also the background of this course. Okay, so for each of the class, I will wait for at least, at most 5 minutes. So if any of you yet to join in, so I will just proceed the class. And of course, the recording will be done for every class. And what else? We have 30 students in this class, so including me, should have around 31 people. So can you all hear me well? Any feedback? Okay, good. Thank you. So yeah, basically that's all. Okay, so before I proceed, one moment, let me share my screen. Okay, so before we start, any questions? I think no, right? Okay, so I will explain several things before we start our lecture today. 1 minute. Okay, so before we start, I believe you all can see my screen. Before we start, I want to go through these 4 items. Okay, the first one would be item number 2. So far, we only have 27 students filling the form. I think the form I already sent to Chi Ye, and she did forward to all of you. And so far, we only have 27 students filling this form. So 3 to go. Please fill it accordingly, because I want to know if, what you opt for your teaching, learning after week 5 and onwards. Okay, so let me go through this form. So far we have 27 students filling this form, and luckily everyone already fully vaccinated. So for week 1 and until week 4, which means before 14th of February, which is Valentine, so we are actually having the online class for all the tutorial, lecture, and also the practical. Okay, so for the week 5 and onwards, which is starting from 15th of February, I think, week 5 onwards. So the student is, is okay to opt for either face-to-face or online. Okay, so based on the chart here, we have as you can see, so 9 students opt for this and 18 students opt for the lecture. Since we have a mixed mode over here, so for those that opt for online class, I will still stream. You guys still can access the online class via the stream. The link in the Google class. Google Calendar. And for those who for face-to-face, you may come to the class according to your timetable. Okay, so since we have a mixed mode, which means hybrid mode, online and also face-to-face. So I will still teaching using the tablets and also everything with the tablet lah, of course. If not, if I write something on the whiteboard, I'm not really sure is it clear for those students that wish to attend online. Okay, the same thing to tutorial. Okay, of course, if all the students opt for online, and then we will purely online. Okay, and if all the students opt for face to face, then we will do purely. Since we have a mixed mode here, so we will do hybrid. But in order to facilitate both the learning, I will still teach using the tablet. Okay, and for practical class, throughout the 14 weeks, I think we have 4 labs. So each lab will take around 2 hours. So basically, all the labs will be online. Okay, I believe you all. The only software we need is the MATLAB. I believe you all. Your computer do have the MATLAB. If you don't have, you may come to the lab. Okay, it's okay to use the lab. Okay, so that would be the teaching and learning mode. Start from week 5 onwards. But yeah, another two students. Please fill in the form. And then timetable, vaccination. Okay. Another thing to discuss with you all is that as aforementioned, we do have many clash with the public holiday. For example, today, Typhoon. But if we need to do the replacement, seriously, we don't have so many slots to do the replacement, since we have clash with the Chinese New Year as well, which is on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of February. So I wish to get your consent on this. So this would be the class cancellations on the first day of Chinese New Year. Second day we don't have because the first day is on Tuesday and Thursday, 2 hours lecture and 1 hour lecture. So the first day would be sorry, should be Tuesday and not Monday. Okay, Tuesday, 1st of February and 3rd of February. So we need to cancel this one. And then we settle down this one first. So I propose to do the replacement class here, according to this one, which is starting from this Thursday. We will add another 1 hour class after, because the for Thursday class we should have only 1 hour, right? Which is 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So in order to accommodate the cancellation, the replacement class here, and since we are doing online, is it okay for us to do like 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And continuous for 3 weeks? This is week 1, week 2, and week 4, I think. 1st of January, 20th of January, 27th of January, and 10th of February. Okay, so in order to accommodate the replacement class over here, okay, because we cannot simply cancel class, we have to do the replacement. And since it is online, I think it's better to do this in this way. And as I check your timetable, you all should have no issue. Is it okay to do the replacement class as of this? Maybe I shouldn't ask in this way. I should ask any objection from all of you. I think all of you already attend the class. A warm reminder for those that just joined in, do fill in the form here, the Google form that sent from Chie, the course rep. Please fill this form. So any objections? If you have any objection or any question, any doubts for item 1 and 2, item 1 and 2, please raise your hand, or either way you can put it in the chat box. So Google form open so many. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, many works to do. Okay, so maybe let me count on 3. If there is no objection from any of you, so I suppose you all have the consent. It's okay to do the replacement here. Don't worry, I will post this, the replacement class in the Google Classroom later on. Okay, on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, so basically we will, can I get the link for Google Form? Okay. Chie, maybe you can PM Jingwen. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so no objection. So we will do the replacement class here. And if in case in future in any event of replacement or cancellations, I'm not sure what case it would be. Maybe we will do the replacement for lecture in during these hours lah. Okay. So for the replacement for Chinese New Year, 1st of February, 3rd of February, we will do replacement on January 20, which means this Thursday onwards, next Thursday, and also week 4, 10th of February. Okay? Okay. And for item 3 and 4, is typically for student in the tutorial group with 16 students. Because I'm not sure which group you are, because on my timetable, there is no group 1 or group 2. I only can view the number of students, which means who is it and also the total number of students. So in order to avoid confusions, so we mention the group using the number, which means group 16 or group 14. We only have 2 groups, okay, either 16 or 14. So for this Thursday and also 3rd of February, it will affect only the group of 16. Okay. The reason why I want to move this tutorial to next week is, to join with another group is that basically we only have 2-hour class and 1-hour class on the Thursday. So I believe you cannot do the tutorial on your own first. So it's best, rather than I just give you the answer, I hope you can join the next group in next week. So you can at least do your tutorial. Okay. Usually tutorial I will upload maybe 3 or 4 days. Usually on Monday I will upload the tutorial on Monday. So you will take your time to finish the tutorial accordingly. And on Tuesday we will do the discussion. Okay. I would prefer you have your answer, and of course if you any question you don't know, you can always ask on the spot. Okay. So for the first tutorial class, the group 16 student, we don't have tutorial class for this week, but you all need to join the tutorial class on next week, the same period of time, 4:30 to 5:30. Okay. And for the Thursday, because it is public holiday, the Chinese New Year, so again we'll move our tutorial to join the next one. So your timetable should be here. The first tutorial would be accommodate on this date, okay, which means next Thursday lah. And for 3rd of February would be on week 4, which is 10th of February. Okay. So any objection from group 16? On count of 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So yeah. That's all. And for your information, all these classes I named here, I stated here, all are online class because it is before, it is still before week 4. Okay, so I think should have no big issue since all are online classes. Okay, so I will post this information later on in the Google Classroom. Don't worry about this. So timetable finished, filling Google Forms, CLO, teaching method. Okay. Okay, so that's all. Any questions so far regarding the whatever we just discussed? No. Okay. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay. This is our course today, multimedia technology and applications. So yeah, a brief. I'm doing. My background. I'm doing medical image processing. So specifically in breast cancer and perhaps colorectal cancer and also prostate cancer. So usually I'm doing image processing, but in medical field. Okay, so if let's say later on you are interested to further study, say master, maybe, and you are interested in medical image processing, perhaps you can contact me. Okay. So I still need to explain the CLO for this subject, which is called course learning outcome. We have 4 CRO. CRO 1 would be explain and the representation of various data formats in ever-changing digital multimedia field. And CRO2 to identify appropriate method to manipulate image, video, and audio signal given specific requirements. Evaluate multimedia system in terms of storage requirement, advantage and disadvantage. And CRO4 utilize computer-aided software tools to process digital multimedia signal. So for this course, you don't have tests. You only have, the course for coursework part, you have only the assignment, the lab report, and the final exam. So the assignment will be given later on, perhaps in week 3, I think. I will post in update in the Google Classroom, and the other one will be the lab report. So since as I mentioned before, we have 4 practical class. So basically, the first practical class, I will release the first lab report, and then the second practical class, perhaps we will talk about the assignment. The third practical class, perhaps I will release the lab report too. So, and the fourth practical class is for you all to finish up, to touch up the assignment, the lab report, and etc. Okay, so everything basically that's all for the rough contain for the practical class. So the total percentage contributes for the lab report will be 40% and assignment will be 60%. So the week of submission for assignment will be week 11 and for lab report will be week 10. So for both of these, the coursework would contribute 40% of the final marks, and for the final exam, the total percentage is 100%, and the course weighting would be 60%, contributing to your final marks. Okay, so we don't have any midterm tests for this subject, and both of these is all these are the reference. If you need, you can PM me, email me. Okay. So that's all for the CLO. Any questions? No one. Okay. So, moment. Okay. So, a moment. You all can see my screen, right? Okay, so let's start our first chapter here. So multimedia technology and applications. Basically, the multimedia technology and applications is about multimedia, okay, and the technology regarding the multimedia and how we actually apply these to resolve engineering problems. Okay, so multimedia, the widespread of multimedia, the coverage of multimedia is actually very wide. It can up to newspaper, the poster, perhaps the computer, iPad, maybe the mobile phone, and any other device, until the World Wide Web, which is the internet and etc. And also the GPS and etc. So multimedia is actually, this course, multimedia technology application, is actually part of the core. I would say very important for E&E student. Okay, so the first chapter would be, of course, the introductions. The introductions to the multimedia. So this is the table of content. I already uploaded the slide here, chapter 1 and also the previous slide that I showed previously, the CLO one in the Google Classroom. So first of all, we have introduction of multimedia, basic elements, and So, okay. So first of all, introduction of multimedia. Of course, the multimedia consists of two different, I would say, words combined together, which is the multi and also the media. Okay, so multi is actually referring to multiple, and media is actually to medium lah. Okay, whatever medium. This medium could be anything regarding maybe text, video, graphic, animations, audio. All those are considered as part of the medium. And multimedia, which means involve more than one lah. Okay, and indicate the usage of multimedia in communications. So multimedia, however, is not simply just putting different media together. Rather, it's focused more on the integration of them. So you don't, multimedia technology is about to communicate within each other. Like you go to a cinema, like last time, this 2D, and then later on become 3D. And then so on, you have moving your chair and etc. become 4D, and later on it really sort of smell, when you crash into the ocean, you have water sprinkle through your face. All those will become 5D. Okay, basically it is to engage your sensory system, your eye, nose, skin, touch, the speed, the feel of wind, etc. So multimedia is more focused more on the integration of them. We are not really putting everything together, like I combine text and graphic together and I call it as multimedia. No, but multimedia is more on integrations of them together, and we need a communication within or between the human being. For example, you have a kiosk. Like you go shopping, you gone missing, you go to a kiosk, and then from the kiosk, you the touchpad or the touchpad now, you click on the panel and you select which floor you are actually, and then it will direct you to somewhere else, something like that. It is more on interactions. Okay, multiple media and in communication wise. Okay, so this is just a breakdown. So multimedia is actually many or more than one medium of communication, put it together, and of course it would involve integration of, the communication between different medium. So multimedia is the field concerned with the computer control integration of text, graphic, moving images, animation, and audio. So these 5 elements here would be the basic elements in the multimedia. Back to maybe 1960 something or 1950 something. So perhaps you have only the newspaper. Later on, you have integrate the picture inside the newspaper, and then later on we have introduced from picture. We introduce to have when you have many different picture arranged in a sequence in a temporal, which is second maybe. Second, so you can render a video and animations, and also the audio is to capture the sound or voice. So why use multimedia? Multimedia engage multiple human senses. As I mentioned before, it tries to engage all of the human sense. So the higher the level, the more the senses it's engaged, so the higher the dimension would be. So like 2D movie, like the normal movie, so it actually is considered as 2D. Not really 2D lah, because you still have the audio, right? The graphic, the audio, and then later on you have 3D spec, and then you can everything like 3D, and then you have 4D and 5D and etc. Actually, it's just the dimension here would be referring to how real is the multimedia engaging all your senses. Okay, so multimedia can help represent information in more interesting and realistic manner. So realistic manner is one of it. So especially when now they introduce the metaverse, So it is more on the realistic manner. How realistic is the virtual environment or whatsoever. So this is what I mentioned just now. This these five would be the basic element in multimedia. The first one will be text, followed by image, audio, video, and animation. So text would be the very basic multimedia who engaged us in earlier century, which is the basic step towards development of multimedia presentations. Includes formatted and unformatted text, such as string of characters. An image, computer-generated image or digitized image picture from a camera. And audio includes speeches, computer synthesis, sound or digitized sound. Video consists of multiple frames of capture moving image and animation. A sequence of computer-generated image which combine to produce a moving image. Okay, so all these five basic elements in multimedia is important. Okay, multimedia versus hypermedia. So hypermedia, again, first introduced by Ted Nelson around 1965, went beyond text only. So it is not just about text, but it is more on hypermedia is including the hyperlink, which means like in Google Classroom, you click on the attachment I put in, so it will automatically link you to another page and etc. All these are considered as hypermedia. So the World Wide Web or the internet, www, would be a cliche example for hypermedia. So you go to Wikipedia, there are a lot of fonts highlighted in maybe different color with underline. So whenever you click on the words, it will bring you to another page or whatsoever, video or whatsoever. So those are hypermedia. Okay, it includes a wide array of media such as graphic, image, and especially the continuous media, sound and video, and links them together. Okay, linear and non-linear medium. I believe everything I mentioned just now, you all are very familiar because this is, in this era, especially during the pandemic, all these are very common. But it is just an introduction. We go through it first. So you have linear and non-linear medium. So linear medium would be from top to bottom. For example, you need to study from, this is a starting point, this is the end point. So you need to study from top to bottom. So this would be what we call linear medium. Linear is actually a straight line, right? Okay, let's say this is a graph. Non-linear would be something like this one. So based on the definition of linear and non-linear itself, so linear meaning you need to start from A to B, a starting point and an ending point. But for non-linear, not a must. Maybe A, you can go to C, maybe D, and then this is E, and then this is F, and then later on back to B, or maybe another one just A to B. You have different paths, okay? All are non-linear. So this is how explained by this graph, not a straight line. Okay. So for this one, we have linear medium. A book is a typical example of linear medium because you need to read from the very first page until the last page of the books in order to understand what is the book actually telling you, whatever. Okay, so the book basically is meant to be read from the beginning to the end. Actually, I would say book is an example for linear medium, but not all the books are the example. I mean, all the books are considered under linear medium. I'm not sure if you all did some reading on a novel, I think, Goosebumps. I'm not sure if you all same era as me, because last time I did read the Goosebumps, which is a series of English novel about the scary story and etc. It's actually at the end of the page for a, a particular section, it has selection for you. Perhaps maybe A, go to page 20, and B, go to page 40, something like that. So for this type of books, it is no longer a linear medium. Okay, so do not confuse with this. This is just an example for you all. As long as the medium require you to read the medium from A to B or the start point to the end point, so we will call this as linear medium. Okay, so book is a typical example, but not all the book categorized under linear medium. Okay, we have to know the definition for linear medium. And for non-linear medium, the cliche example would be the hypertext, which means the hyperlink, like the Google Classroom, the World Wide Web, Internet, whatsoever. So whenever you click on the highlighted fonts or any graphics, it will automatically bring you or link you to another page or another source or another multimedia. That's all. So all these are considered as non-linear. Okay, so let's say you have a page, a story, an article from the internet, and the article itself required you to read from the very start point until the very end point. So this article is considered as linear medium. Okay, so you have to know the functions of linear and non-linear medium rather than just memorize, oh, World Wide Web should be non-linear, book should be linear, not a must. Okay, so that is the difference between the linear medium and non-linear medium. Okay, multimedia application. I believe you all know the multimedia application. I mean, in this era, whatever that you using, I would say is part of the multimedia. Like you're using your car, you're using your sensor to open the car door, maybe your automated gate, the RFID, your handphone, your GPS, the built-in GPS inside the car, and etc. All are multimedia. Okay, so multimedia finds its application in various areas, including but not limited to all the following: advertisement, art, education, entertainment, engineering, medicine, mathematics, business, scientific research. Okay, so of course, this course is not that general to teach you, this is kiosk, okay, this is touch panel. No, this is not the main purpose. The purpose here is to let you all know actually how multimedia application or multimedia technology is being used to resolve the engineering problems, especially in E&E. So I will give you an example. Previously, I worked in the semiconductor industry. So as a product development engineer. So for machine vision, AOI machine, automated optical inspection machine. So the main job scope is to write algorithm, the programming to detect the defects on the semiconductor. I believe you all know, I'm not sure you all know or not, but actually in Malaysia, the main contributions to the economy would be not maybe the mainstream but the major one would be from the semiconductor. So there are several industry players which is very famous. Perhaps last time you all intern, you already know. In semiconductor, there would be Witchops, more on inspections, MI equipment, more on inspection as well, but on the front line. Witchops is on the end of line. Panda Master, front of line as well. What else? Let me think. These are more on inspection wise, which involve the use of multimedia heavily. For example, image processing, for example, to store the images and etc. And those that manufacture the semiconductor, maybe Lam Research, Intel, and many more. Okay. So the main purpose of this course is to let you all know how actually why we need to learn multimedia, because it is very important, especially for image related industry. For example, Witchops, MIE, Panda Master, all these really need the knowledge in multimedia applications. So anyhow, this chapter is just in introduction. Okay, the World Wide Web will be part of the example. You have hypertext, you have graphics, you have animations, you have text. So basically, all 5 elements are included in the World Wide Web. The home shopping, Shopee, Lazada, multimedia game like the whatever multimedia game, the interactive TV or the smart TV, and also the virtual surgery, which maybe virtual surgery require actually a high data transmission. So since you need high data transmissions, the 5G is one thing. The another thing is how you actually encrypt or reduce the size of images and send it over to another place. So this is why we need multimedia. The storage of information in terms of multimedia is very important. So let's say you need to send, just for your information, the data size in especially medical related data size, let's say MRI image, it requires a very big size, or MRI image, the whole slide images. All these are maybe CT images. All these medical images require very big data size. For example, one whole slide images, this is the tissue slide, and then you convert this tissue into one image, and this image can up to 5 GB, so it is very big, and this is only one tissue. Let's say you have many tissue, 1,000 up to 100,000 tissue, so you require a lot of space. Okay, and the information kiosk, as we can see in any shopping mall, computer-based training, teaching aid like what we are using at this moment. So multimedia system, this is regarding the system of multimedia itself. Multimedia system is a system that capable of processing multimedia data and application. So this is to process the multimedia and also whatsoever application. Process can include the acquisition of information, the pre-processing of information, and the post-processing of information. So support integrated processing of several media types, which with at least one time dependence or continuous medium. Okay, so continuous medium would be the media which is continuous flow on, for example, video, audio. All these require a continuous flow in order to prescribe what is the meaning of the video itself. For example, you have a 5-minute video. So you need to finish the 5 minutes in order to understand what the video is about. Unlike an image. So whenever you saw this image, you will know, oh, this is an image with human inside, or this is text. Oh, this image is actually this text is actually A, something like that. So you don't need a continuous observation. So we call it as continuous, or maybe in another word would be discrete and continuous. So allow interactivity with user. So the system must be computer controlled and the information is represented digitally. So whatever you have at this moment, for example, last time we don't have all these GPS, right? We only have, a big map of Malaysia. I don't think you all ever hold a map, Malaysia map. Maybe you go to a zoo, perhaps you will, in the brochure itself, we would have the map for the zoo. That one is okay. Okay, and then now no longer we have all this map. So we have GPS ways maybe to transfer everything to digital. So whatever we have, on hand, we call it as analog. And whatever in computer, we call it digital. So that is why you have analog signal and digital signal, right? So both are different. So features of multimedia system. These are the common features of a multimedia system, but of course it may include more than this. Okay, Multimedia system should possess the following features in order to support the processing of media. So very high processing power. This is very dependent. Depends on the applications. Some applications do not need very high processing power, but some, yes, it needs. Multimedia capable file system. Okay, this is dependent on the application as well. For example, you need to store video, so of course your system must be able to read the data and write the data of video. Okay, if your system cannot read or write the video file, so basically it's useless lah. Okay, efficient high I/O. I/O is referring to input and output. So efficient high output is very important, especially especially in the communication between two computers or two systems, A and B. Okay, so whenever you send a data, this point to send, this point to receive. So whatever you send the data, this is the output, and this is the input, maybe from another X computer. This will be input, this would be output, and this would be the B system input, and maybe don't know what output. Okay, and this would be the X system input, output. Okay, so the I/O is very important in all because most of the time whenever you want to trigger, I want to use the programming language to control the arm or control the valve and etc. So why I send now, and after only one second, the arm will start moving. This is very slow. Okay, usually in semiconductor industry, we are calculate everything in millisecond, 1000 millisecond. Okay, so everything should be maybe 10 or 20 or 30 millisecond, depends on the application. If let's say I want to move move an arm. Okay, if you want to move an arm, basically maybe like 100 millisecond would be at most. If you're up to 1 second, it is very slow. You can observe that you can observe a delay movement from the machine itself. So for sure the customer will complain, for sure. Okay, so this is efficient high I/O is very important. And special multimedia operating system, this is dependent operating system will be the OS lah. Like the MacBook, it has its own OS. It's not easily to interact with OS and etc. Different OS lah. Large storage and memory. This is depend on this is depend on type of applications. For example, let's say you want to store something. You want to transfer images from a computer to another computer, and you need the data for maybe audit later on. So data storage would be one of the main concerns. So how you want to compress the data, and you will learn the data compression later on. Maybe I think chapter 5 or 6 later on. Okay, network support. This is regarding how many G is it, 5G, 6G, and etc. And user-friendly software tool. Okay, as I mentioned before, the multimedia is always meant to be interact with human being. So user-friendly software tools is very important. Okay, so very high processing power, capable of processing a large amount of data in real time. So whenever you have a low processing power, you would expect a delay. For example, I want to play online games like maybe Dota or LOL whatsoever, but then I found that my processing power is very, very low. Another typical example would be training your deep learning model. So if you don't have a very good RAM, basically deep learning either can cause a blue screen, or maybe the training takes few hours to process. So that is why high processing power is very important. Okay, let's say you process only one images or one model, then it's fine. You still can wait for it. But if you want to train for 1,000 or million images, you cannot afford to wait for so many hours. Okay, file system capable of handling multimedia information. This is what I mentioned previously, to handle continuous stream of data. This is especially important during log. To writing the log. Log would be, how should I put this? Log would be something that you want to log down the data. Like you have a machine, you have a whatever machine. Okay, this machine is meant to keep on read the data, read how many people coming in and that. So it will start to lock down everything lah. For example, now start the computer, start to read the I/O, start to trigger the RAM and etc. So this is the log. Usually the engineer require this log to troubleshoot what actually happened. For example, for some reason this machine break down. So what is the main things the engineer would ask for is the log. Okay, give you an example. Like last time, the machine breakdown. Whenever there is an error, for example, the computer suddenly prompt an error message. So whatever the main thing we need is the log, the computer log, the software log. So from the software log, we will check what else is actually happening. For example, you have step 1 to step 10. Suddenly, the system stopped at step 5. So we will try to look into the algorithm or the programming in step 5. This is how we actually trace the bugs. Okay. That's why logs writing is very important, and logs writing require continuous streaming of data, because you need to keep on open the file. Usually the log file would be text file .txt. It depends, but usually it's in .txt. So you need to keep on open to read and write this file. So in order for you to keep on open this file, I'm not sure if you already experienced this. Whenever you open a file, and then let's say you plug in a pen drive, and then you already open one file, and then you want to unplug the pen drive. Of course, I'm not saying to just plug off, but you use the safety remover at the bottom of screen here and your computer. So it will say, oh, this file is being used for another purposes. Please close the file first, something like this. So this is the restriction regarding the read and write. So read and write, if you have two programs, read and write at the same time on the same file, it usually will cause a clash. So programming here is very important to control the traffic and write the traffic. So everything read and write here is very, very fast. It's okay for you to pick up a pen from the table. It's okay for you to pick up. But if I want you to pick up millions of pens from the table in 1 second, it would be a big issue. Do you understand what I mean? It is very simple to open and close the file, to open, read and write and close the file. It's very simple. But if like 10 different programs requesting to access the same file at the same time, read and write, so it will cause the computer to clash and blue screen. So that is the tricky part. That is the reason why we need to learn multimedia and the application, also the technology, because we want to control the traffic behind it. Okay, so that is very simple. To me, it's really simple. To pick up a pen, to read and write in a .txt file is very simple. But if you when you have different application need the same thing in the same time or in a very short time, like 10 milliseconds, so it will be a big issue to you. Okay. So this is what we talk lah. What engineer are doing. Okay, efficient and high I/O rate device. This is an example. The USB 2.0, USB 3.0, the higher the number behind, remark a higher data transmission. Okay, which means you have system A, system B. System A want to send the data to system B. How efficient is system A send out the info here, and how high or how efficient the system B to decode the information here. So this is what we meant by I/O. Okay, usually I/O is very, very common, because in a machine or a system, it is not just system A, but system A need to contact and communicate with all other systems, maybe not infinity, impossible infinity, finite system. Maybe A1 to Z 100, something like that, many different kind of system. So from time to time, system A need to control the traffic here, to send out to encode the signal and then decode by another system here. So the encoding and decoding and the sending of the data transmission and etc. will be referring to the I/O rate. So special multimedia operating system compared to traditional OS, this is OS. Compared to traditional OS, multimedia OS must provide support for soft real-time application. Streaming videos, for example, where transmission, processing, and presentation delay is critical. So in some cases, the OS, we still can tolerate that. That is why I say that sometimes we, really dependence on the the application itself. For example, a delay for like I call back to my family. Oh, mother, I left something at home. I need it by 5 p.m. Oh, then still okay. Because this is not something critical. A delay in terms of sending the data, sending the message is fine. But let's say you are on a virtual surgery, to remove something is very, very critical. A delay in the removal may cause a rupture of blood vessel and etc. So this case, the presentation, the real-time presentation is very critical. No one can afford a delay in the presentation. So in this case, the OS is becoming a very crucial part. I would say top priority. Okay, so it's very dependent on the multimedia itself, the application itself. So in order to handle continuous data type, multimedia operating system should process file system and data structure to support real-time scheduling of tasks. In programming, we do have, let me recall, in programming, we can actually, we have string, actually, different string. This string is not the string in programming like character string, those string, but this, sorry, not string, I think, thread. So thread is a way for you to do the programming, whereby you can actually trigger many different threads at a time. So usually programming, we start from A to B, right? But rather we start A1, A2, A3, and then reach the B. Okay, so this is all this whenever you have different programming running at the same moment, so we call it as thread. Okay, in programming. Okay, so yeah, this is how we actually cater for real time, which suddenly prompt different things, not in a sequence. After A, then B, B, then C, but after I press A, immediately it will display BZD, something like that. So all these are called thread programming. And thread programming is very high demand in RAM and also the processing power itself. So large storage and memory. So this depends. Give an example. Like in the semiconductor industry, for example, the automated optical inspection machine. Automated optical inspections machines. In short, we call it as AOI. So for the AOI machines, actually it's require large storage and memory. Why? Because let's say this is a die, the die DIE, but this die is not the die that we die, but the die is the very, very small unit inside an IC. Yeah, very, very small, like maybe 2 mm, 1 mm. So inside there, you should, let me put it larger. Okay. So in one die, usually it is like a square. So usually you have matrix code here, and then you have orientation pin here, 1, 1, 2. Okay, this is a typical example. I mean, I would say typical example lah, but not all die look in such a way lah. Okay, usually you have an orientation pin to show that the orientation of this pin, because you don't want to put the pin in upside down. You know, it has its own function. This is the top view. The bottom view would be the copper. Okay, something like this one. So this would be the copper plate lah, to perform the connectivity itself. So in I mean from the top view, usually you only can see this lah, but this is a 3D view lah. 1, 1, 2. Matrix code here. So in in the semiconductor industry, for inspection wise, usually you will need to identify the defects on the surface, on the die surface. This one we call it that die surface. Okay, so maybe you need to check for crack, condemn, adhesive, whatsoever lah. Okay, the surface inspection, we call it a surface inspection because it's only involved 2D. Okay, if it involves 3D, maybe you need to find the crack at the edge and etc. Okay, so the orientation pin, this one is to identify the orientation of the die. The number here is actually to trace to enable traceability. Okay, another would be usually this one, 112 would be the code for the series. We call it as production set. Okay, and there is a matrix code MC matrix code. So the matrix code is sort of barcode to track which IC is it. So after let's say this IC, this die put in another PCB board, one board over here, and then this board put into your iPhone, put into your iPhone. Oh, let's say this batch of iPhone keep on encounter a specific issue. For example, a blue screen. Okay, for example, a blue screen. So Apple would retract all this series according to the serial number here, and also the matrix code here, to identify actually which part of the die or which part of the system PCB board inside got issue, and it will trace down at least to find the root cause and avoid it in future. So this is how semiconductor industry doing their task. So traceability is very important. So when we want to trace something, we must have, we need to keep a copyright. So whenever the system snap the image of this die, the top surface of the die, so it will need to keep the images either in JPEG or BMP, bitmap. So in order to keep this, this is, of course, we all know JPEG only cost like 1 or 2 MB 1 or 2 KB or maybe 10. No, sometimes to some extent, yes, JPEG need very small space. But let's say you have 1 million in 1 hour. If you have 1 million JPEG in 1 hour, the machine itself snap 1 million JPEG images in 1 hour, and let's say the machine work for continuous 24 hours, so you will have like 24 million of images. So 24 million of images, I think your computer will burst. So the large storage and memory is very, very important in this application. Okay, so we require large storage space. One moment, let me erase this. So require large storage space of the order of 100 of TB, if not more, and large memory requirement, several gig or more. So large caches also require high-speed buses for efficient management. So of course, this is only the typical example. I mean, not all tags require 2000 byte and etc. Okay. So this is just the example, like text, graphic, image, audio, digital, video, and etc. So network support, high speed or bandwidth network is required. Let's say we are, again, this is dependent on the application. If let's say you want to send something very urgent, like the military message, if a late transmission may cause war, so the network support is very, very important. So that is why different country is, raising and challenging each other in order to get the 5G last time. So this is why everyone is very I mean, not about the same. I mean, oh, my country got 5G already, and we are the pioneer. Not just like that, but most of the time it's involved military message transfer. So and also the medical wise, the highly security encryption wise. So that is why people need the 5G, the 6G, and etc. So this is why, and especially in the semiconductor, for example, in Taiwan, the most I would say the top notch semiconductor industry player would be from Taiwan. Okay, and then followed by others chip company. I mean, not the chip, not the Mura, but the chip company manufacturer like Intel, Huawei, and many big player outside there. So the network support is very, very crucial for them. User-friendly and software tools. As I mentioned before, all the multimedia should meant to be interact with human being, not just the system around itself. No. You should interact with human being. Okay, so it's very important to have user-friendly software tools. You don't want to have the GPS system which you cannot even understand what the GUI meaning, how to click into, even to access the map. You don't want something like that, right? So a graphic user interface which is human friendly is very user friendly is very important. So the component of multimedia system, basically we have four main components. Would be the first one: capture, storage, communication, and computer system. So the first one would be the capture the device, capture device, to capture the information, whatever. For example, the text, the audio. Let's say you want to capture image. For sure, you need the lens, right? The sensor for the lens, or to render a video, to record a video. Of course, you need a sensor, a lens to capture the informations or record the video. And for storage, after you capture this, you need to store in the system itself before you perform any pre-processing or post-processing. So the storage device is another thing. The communication network, you need to communicate from one system to another system. For example, I capture using my camera, maybe let's say Canon camera. After you capture using your DSLR, and then you want to transfer maybe using the cloud, the Wi-Fi, the USB cable, and to your computer, and then you need to perform editing. Let's say you want to use the Photoshop and any other multimedia, video or images editing system, and then you need the communication network, the USB, the Wi-Fi, the cloud. Those are example of communication system, and also the network. And also the computer system. Whenever you want to capture something, you want to process the data, because when we capture an image, we are not going to capture the image that easy. We are actually absorbing the light. For example, you have this is a bit okay. Never mind. We skip this first. What I want to explain is that like the CMOS sensor. Whenever you capture it using the CMOS sensor, for example, you are not really, capture the image itself, but the principle behind an image, how the image is being created is actually getting the intensity of light exposed to different sensor itself. So from the different level of light exposures, so the sensor or the electronic signal will return a different level of intensity, and this intensity actually will then form the images with different shading. For example, you have this is dark, gray, and then white, something like that. Okay, so the shading here is actually referring to the level or the intensity of the sensor being exposed to the light or the any source, light of source, source of light, something like that. Okay, so this is in order to change the signal here to form an image, you need the computer system, or like what I said just now, when you want to edit the image, edit the video, you need the computer system itself, maybe workstations or MPEG, video encoder and decoder itself. Okay, JPEG and MPEG are very common example. JPEG is image. I believe you all would be very familiar with JPEG, but maybe not so familiar with MPEG. JPEG is not more on, but JPEG is definitely on the image, and MPEG would be on the video. Okay. Software tools. The categories of software tools we examine here are, okay, so in these sections, I will explain some maybe not so common to you all, the software tools. For example, Photoshop, OBS, all these are common multimedia or software tools characterized into different category. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories here. So I will give you all some example under each category. But of course, I mean, it is not necessary to memorize it because this is it's good for you all to know. But I don't think this is important because we are now in 4th year, second semester. I am not looking into things that you all need memorization. Of course, like for example, the definition of multimedia, what would be the basic element of multimedia? This one, of course, you need to know. But what I would emphasize would be the working principle behind this. For example, the JPEG, how JPEG is actually working. I believe most of you know JPEG is image that being compressed. It is not the original size anymore. Okay, so how is JPEG being used? What is the algorithm behind the JPEG that we use daily basis? So and I believe you all know about PNG, bitmap, BMP, maybe some vector image .svg. All these that is the core of this subject. Okay. Music sequence and notation. This is to more on audio, to edit the music, edit the notations. I mean, to perform notation and etc. Cakewalk by BandLab. Cakewalk by BandLab is very straightforward music notation program for sequencing. The term sequencer comes from the older device that stores sequences of notes in MIDI music language. So finally, Avid Sibelius. Finally, Sibelius are two composer level notation system. This program likely set the bar for excellence, but their learning curve is very steep. Because this is, I mean, the Finale and Avid Sibelius is meant for the composer level. So it has, whenever we want something more and more professional, more and more details, so it will involve more and more parameter. When you involve more and more parameter, it requires more and more learning. I mean, the stepper is the learning curve. It is not that not suitable for layman. Okay, if you want to do something, very professional, you cannot just read something from YouTube and then you hope, and then you expect you can perform as perfect as it is. You need to have your practice, tuning a parameter and etc. I would say YouTube, Wikipedia is a good medium for a layman. If you want to learn something new, you can actually get it from YouTube, maybe from Wikipedia. But the accuracy of information is not over there, lah. Okay, because the video uploaded to YouTube and the information from Wikipedia itself is not being well controlled. Okay, it's very dependent on the source. Depends who are the one who upload the video. Editing the Wikipedia, the information in the Wikipedia. But if you want to have sort of overview, it's okay. But if you want something very professional, very accurate, up to certain level, maybe international level, so I don't think that would be a wise choice. Okay, digital audio. Adobe Auditions. Adobe Audition, I think Adobe will be very familiar. I mean, you all will be very familiar, which is to the PDF file and etc. Formerly known as Cool Edit, is a powerful, popular digital audio toolkit that emulates a professional audio studio, including multi-track productions and sound file editing, along with digital signal processing effect. SoundForge, like Audition, SoundForge is a sophisticated PC-based program for editing WAV sound file and okay. It also permits adding complex special effects. So all these are meant for digital audio in order, to edit at least at the bottom line to edit the digital audio. So Adobe Pro Tools and other tools for you to edit the digital audio, which it is a high-end integrated audio production and editing environment that runs on Macintosh computer as well as a Windows. So full effect depends on purchasing a dongle. Usually most of the good software, professional level or industrial grade, it's required to purchase a dongle. Dongle is sort of USB. For example, the library for Ulysses, Helcont, all these are common library that we use in the inspection. For image processing wise, because it's impossible for you to write for example, you want to perform auto thresholding. I know auto thresholding is very simple, very direct, and but the way you write the programming, the way you call the program to perform the thresholding itself is quite slow. That is because you are not really familiar. You know the working principle of auto thresholding, but you don't know, or you may not write the program in the best way to have a shortest time ticket. So that is why we usually use the library instead of writing the algorithm itself ourselves. So in order to call the library, most of the library, of course, it is, at the end of the day, all the industry are about money, right? So they will sell you the dongles. You have to buy the dongles in order to access their library, access certain software. So the dongles will be like a pen drive. You just plug in your computer or you plug into your system or machine, then you can use or call the algorithm. Okay, else it will stop the communication over there. So graphic and image editing. Adobe Illustrator. Adobe is a powerful publishing tool for creating and editing vector graphic. So you all should know, it's okay. We have different kind of images. One is bitmap, and another one is vector. Okay, bitmap will be pixel based, which means whenever you enlarge something else, it will blur out. So whenever that thing, the images blur out, you form sort of pixel over there. So we call this as bitmap image. So whenever you zoom in, but there is no pixel over, no pixel create at the edge of the image, at the edge of the text, which means it is a vector. This is because the bitmap is actually formed based on a pixel. So whenever you zoom in, for sure you will see something like pixel, 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 maybe a block, like a blocky field. Like. But for vector, it is represented using equations. So no matter how you zoom in, it will still recreate using the equation, the definition of the equations. Okay, so that is the difference between the bitmap and also the vector. So Adobe Illustrator is a powerful publishing tools for creating and editing vector graphic. So this is meant for vector graphic, which is easy to be exported to use on the web, and it is especially useful for logo graphics design because you don't want people will scaling and reskill your image, right? For example, you have a logo, maybe XJ, okay, you have a logo. People will keep on, zoom in and zoom out, according to the size of the web page itself. So if you have a pixel, whenever you zoom in, that is a blocky field and blur out and etc. You don't want this type of thing. This kind of thing. I mean, a low quality image happen. So that is why you select vector image. So the choice of vector and also the bitmap is very dependent on the applications. If you want to display something like a logo, a poster, so best is to select vector. But if you want to process something else, I mean, you want to perform image processing, for sure you will go for pixel. Okay. Adobe Photoshop. Photoshop is the standard in tools for graphic image processing and image manipulation. I think Photoshop is very common. Many people know Photoshop. Layers of images, graphic, and text can be separated by manipulated for maximum flexibility, and a set of filter permits creation of sophisticated lighting effect. So yeah, Photoshop is very, very common, especially for advertisement designing industry, creative industry, and etc. So you can basically edit anything. Okay, another software will be CorelDRAW. I'm not sure if it's COREL or CORAL. This is another software that I think is quite good to edit image and also to perform the simulation as well. CorelDRAW is I think it's a high-end for editing image, video. I'm not sure it can edit video. I think cannot. But graph and etc. But CorelDRAW require payment. It is not a free software anyway. But CorelDRAW to me is quite good. I mean, especially for graphics, any chart, you can edit very perfect. And the result is very pleasing, very pleasant. GMP is a free and open source graphic editor alternative to Photoshop. So it supports many bitmap format. So bitmap is what I meant just now, the one with pixel. So GIF, PNG, JPEG, all these are example of bitmap. These are pixel-based format. Okay, pixel-based. But vector-based format, it is more on it is defined by the equations, not the pixel. In that each pixel is specified. It also supports vector-based format in which endpoint of lines are specific instead of pixel themselves, such as SWF, and it can also read Photoshop format. So now about video editing. Adobe Premiere. Premiere is a simple, intuitive video editing tool for non-linear editing. Putting video clip into any order, video and audio are arranged in track like a musical score. So basically, video editing, actually video is a continuous flow of image. I believe you all know this. You have a still image, and then if you arrange the still image in a continuous manner, for example, in 10 milliseconds, you have, not to say 10, let's say 1 second, you have 200 frames. Usually we call one images in 1 second. I mean, we call this image in 1 second, within a second. All this image is within 1 second. We call it as frame in video. Okay, we know as frame. So which means in 1 second, it will display 200 frames in in a sequence. For example, this is the first one. This is the 200. This is the first frame. This is the last frame. So in 1 second, it will display the frame in a continuous manner. So each of these image, we call it as frame in video processing. Okay. So basically, in video processing, we are actually, so that is why in video editing, whenever you snap, the cliche example would be, let me think, you snap a video using a WhatsApp. So before you want to send it out, it will show something like this, right? Different frame, and then a play here, and then your message here, something like this, right? The interface for WhatsApp. So basically, each of these, we call it as frame. Okay, so whenever you play, there is a skill bar over here, moving from here until the very last frame. So there's a, this is your frame, then there would be maybe a skill bar, and then moving in these directions from 0 seconds to maybe 3 seconds, something like this. So each of these each of these, we call this a frame. Okay, so basically video is actually a series of images. Arranging is a specific sequence. So that is what we call as video. So another example would be Cycling Power Director, Adobe After Effects. So all these are more and more high level or high end video editing tools. iMovie, Final Cut Pro. iMovie is a video editing tool for Mac OS and iOS device. It is versatile, convenient for video editing and creation of movie trailer. iMovie on iPhone is especially handy and popular, in which it is suitable for layman. Okay. Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro is a professional video editing tool offered by Apple for Mac OS. It's allowed the input of video and audio from numerous sources and provide a complete environment for editing and color corrections to final outputs of the video file. So as I mentioned before, the higher the level of the software, it requires more parameters for fine-tuning purposes, and also you need a better operating system to handle all these input-output software, input-output data, input-output information, transfer of information from one software to another software, etc. Basically to control the traffic. Okay. Animations. Multiple API. Java 3D is an API used by Java to construct and render 3D graphics. Similar to the way Java Media Framework handles media file, it provides a basic set of objects, primitive, cubes, spline, etc., upon which the developer can build scenes. It is an abstraction layer built on top of OpenGL, DirectX, and So the graphics are accelerated, and DirectX, OpenGL are another multimedia API, especially for animations. So DirectX, window API that support video, image, audio, and 3D animations. And OpenGL was created in 1992 and is still a popular 3D API today. OpenGL is highly portable and will run on all popular modern operating systems such as Unix, Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. Sometimes the choice of the software itself is very dependent on the popularity of the population as well. For example, we do have JPEG. Actually, we have two different types of compression method, which you all will learn in maybe chapter 6 or 7. You actually have two types of images. The format of the image. One is JPEG. One is JPEG with different compressions method. The compression method using the wavelet transfer is actually have a better performance, but it is not so common in elsewhere. So almost, I mean, all the Windows system operation, Mac OS, the Linux, and etc., we are still using the JPEG. So that would be the drawback. Like, sometimes it's like an artist which is very talented, knowing how to write song and etc. But in fact, the artist is himself or herself is not that famous as compared to some other which is maybe not so good in singing, this and that. But yeah, this is the popularity. So the manufacturer company will also consider the popularity of a certain software. So if the software, even though the effectiveness or the effectiveness is not that high, but this is very, very popular, the manufacturer will still choose this one because at the end of the day, the software, the system itself need to interact with the user. So if the user prefer this one, so the manufacturer of course will fulfill the demand of user, right? So this is a very basic engineering management skill. Okay, animation software, Autodesk 3D Max, formerly known as 3D Studio Max, includes a number of high-end professional tools for character animations, game development, and visual effect production. I think the animation software here, for example, Autodesk 3D Max, Autodesk Maya, these two would be the preferable software for those that in the creative industry, for example, drawing the animations, rendering the animation, and etc. Because this is the high-end and industrial grade for rendering the animate movie and etc. So not really for layman. If you are layman, maybe there is a stepper learning curve over there. So Autodesk Maya is a complete modeling, animation, and rendering package. It features a wide variety of modeling and animation tools, such as to create realistic clothes and fur. Autodesk Maya runs on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Blender is a free and open software alternative to the paid Autodesk suite of tools. It also offers a complete modeling, animation, and rendering feature set, as well as Python scripting capability. So GIF animation package, this is another things to render the GIF for much simpler approach to animation that also allow quick development of effective or small animation for the web. GIF is like, a very short, like the emoji, but instead of, I think you all know what is GIF, I don't need to explain this. Like in your IG, you put on the GIF, the one like Mr. Bean, playing around the eyeball, or all these are the typical example of GIF. So in order to render the GIF, I think you simply type on the Google search engine GIF to create a GIF or GIF creator. Then you can create your GIF on your own. Maybe you need to put in you need to fit in the software or the web page with some images, and then it will keep on playing like that. So this will be the GIF lah. Okay, so for much GIF can contain several images, and looping through them create a simple animation. So this is the common use of the GIF. It enrich our presentation of data. Whenever I want to say something ironic, rather than I type it out, I just use an emoji. I think you all know better than me lah. Okay, so GIF is a very cliche way to enrich our presentation of a certain words or certain situations. So multimedia authoring, Adobe Animate. Adobe Animate, formerly known as Adobe Flash 3, allow users to create interactive presentation for many different platforms in many different formats, such as HTML5, WebGL. The content creation process in Animate follows the score metaphor, a timeline arranged in parallel event sequence, much like a music score consisting of music notes. So basically, once the symbols are present at a specific time, they appear on the stage, which present what the movie looks like, a curtain type. So basically, you are arranging your information, whatever information in the sequence, like this is the stage. Then you want, and this is the backstage. You have A, B, C, D, E. Okay, now F. Now it's the time for E. Then E show up over here. Then the way of editing is like you're arranging the sequence at the back. So whenever the time taken appear, and you will call link between these two. For example, the third second, you need to call data number E. So whenever you reach the third second, data E will be called up and shows, and display whatever information it is. So this is the backbone principle of the Adobe Animate. Adobe Director, formerly known as Macromedia Director, is a multimedia. There's a gap here. It's a multimedia application authoring platform. It uses a movie metaphor to create interactive presentations. So it includes a built-in scripting language lingo that allows creation of complex interactive movie. So Adobe has discontinued its support to Director since 2017. So this is a brief history on the main software tools players in multimedia. Adobe Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is a web page authoring tool that allows users to produce web-based multimedia presentation without learning any HTML. So this is more suitable for layman. Okay, because you don't need to learn any HTML, and HTML itself is not that easy to learn and etc. Okay, software development kit. Unity Engine is a multimedia engine development kit targeting novice or small development teams for producing video games and other interactive off-the-shelf experience. So basically, this one is more suitable. Not a layman, but then it is like you want to do something I want to create very, very simple video games, but the learning curve is not that steep. So perhaps the Unity engine would be your best choice. Okay. So Unity can be deployed to many platforms such as PC, smartphone, or console window. It is free for personal use and can be used professionally with varying subscription costs and no royalties. So subscription cost is the better the subscription, the higher the subscription, the better the tools that can offer you, and no royalties, which means you can share elsewhere. Okay. Actually, we are not really aware of the royalty, but it is very important, especially I believe you already done your capstone, right? So during your capstone, whatever you share in the video, let's say you have a video presentation, and whatever on the poster itself, you must have a copyright. So it's best for you to use those that with free royalty, because you can actually sue by another party if you don't use their any image which is without getting the consent or the copyright. Okay. So Unreal Engine offer highly fidelity visual out of the box, unlike Unity, but have a step learning curve. It is commonly used by and for large game development studio targeting high quality visual effect with the latest hardware. So Unreal Engine would be more costly because whenever it can offer high fidelity visual, for sure it will require a higher data processing capability. For example, you will need a better RAM, better OS, larger storage size. This is the trade-off to having a high fidelity visual rather than the low, maybe 2D, just 2D, black and white. So of course, you don't need such a processing power over there. So multimedia broadcasting, this is meant for broadcast during the pandemic. Maybe some of the lecturers using OBS. OBS and XSplit is a common broadcasting tools. I think in Thai you see people using OBS better. I mean, widely used lah. OBS. Okay, OBS is broadcasting use. Maybe you can put the pace of the lecture. You know, put it here. You know, like someone talking, da da da, presenting or something like this here. Like you, yeah, something like just to engage to enrich the virtual platform. Okay, because most of the time when the lecturer are talking, I believe I'm not sure if you all are there also. Okay, so I hope you are there. Okay, from your I mean assignment, the lab report, so and also the examination, I will know if you all present or not lah. Okay, anyhow, this is the fourth year already. I think you all can discipline yourself lah. No matter you opt for online or you opt for face to face. So I actually don't mind if you I mean the way you learn, because I believe different people will have different learning method. So do I. So I don't really mind how you learn, how you get familiar with any knowledge. I don't mind. But as long as you can shows the output which is aligned with the course learning outcome, then should be fine. So as long as you can complete the assignment without plagiarisms, complete the lab report and learn how to use MATLAB to render a video, to use MATLAB to process image, then should be fine. Okay, I don't mind how you learn. Okay, you should be responsibility. You should be responsible on your own future lah. Okay, but anything you need advice, of course you can approach me. Okay, approach me via email would be better. I will respond very soon. And it is in the event of urgent, you can contact course rep and ask course rep to contact me. Usually I will respond very soon. Okay, so OBS and XSplit are two widely used broadcast tools, and OBS is free and open source. So it's easier lah. That is why people usually use OBS lah. And XSplit is a proprietary and pay. So these two can be thought of as an entire broadcasting production studio in digital form. They offer built-in support for switching between different cameras and other multimedia source for real-time broadcasting. So especially for OBS, because I'm not really sure about XSplit, and I never, to be frank, I never use XSplit. And for OBS, we actually can you can choose different device. For example, I want to combine 3 camera or 3 image acquisition source to one, to the OBS, then I can changing the source smoothly without any awkward change. You know, yeah, that is the power of OBS lah. Okay, make everything very smooth, and the user can broadcast live video feeds to websites such as YouTube and also Facebook. Whenever you have the broadcast link, you can broadcast it. YouTube whatsoever, you can broadcast. Rendering is a process of creating three-dimensional live graphical object and scenery entirely via computer generation. So software tools would be 3D Studio Max, Maya, Soft Image XSI, and RenderMan. So this is what I mentioned before. I'm not sure if you all still remember. So in a multimedia system, for sure we have a capture device. So in this example, we are talking about the video. Okay, so in order to the capture device would be the video camera, the lens. Okay, in general would be the video camera, the capturing device. But if we want to look into more details, perhaps we can talk about the sensor to capture the image, perhaps CMOS sensor, or maybe other sensor. And then this is to to acquire the informations. In this case, we are capturing video. So after capturing video, we need to store the video. Okay, because whenever we capture something else, the first thing is to store into the device, no matter what device, mobile phone, the DSLR, and etc. So in order to store the device, you need to store in any format. What format is it? For example, a video, maybe MPEG format. For image, maybe JPEG, PNG, bitmap, and etc. And then depends, do you need to do compressions? For example, 5:1 compressions, which means you have, let's say you have 500 MB, and then you compress become 100 MB. This is called compressions. And video editing, we require the computer system, the OS, the operating system, the RAM, random access memory. So video editing software, where I just explained just now, Adobe Premiere will be one of the examples. And then you edit the video, and then you need to play the video, or whenever you want to play the video, either you play using the capturing device itself, for example, the video recorder, the DSLR, you can play actually using the DSLR, right? But in most of the time, you need to play to other via other device or system. Maybe you want to play using your computer, play using the smart TV. You want to stream it to your Facebook or YouTube and etc. So whenever you want to transfer from this device to another X device, for sure you need the communication system. So the communication system will be LAN cable, USB, the Wi-Fi, the cloud, or whatsoever. So you can interact from your current device to any other X device. So you will need to play it maybe using the Apple QuickTime Player, Real-Time Player, and Windows Media Player. So these are the basic system in a multimedia. And this is not only applicable to video processing, it is applicable to audio, image as well. So type of multimedia presentation. This is what I mentioned just now. I think initially, maybe the first few slides, I already explained about linear and non-linear multimedia. Okay. So before we proceed, do you all have any question to ask? Whenever you have question, you can actually raise your hand to ask any question. I don't mind you all interrupt me. Okay. So any questions so far? No. Okay. I believe until now the lecture notes is quite simple and direct, and you are in the generation whereby high level of interaction with the multimedia. So I believe maybe most of you know better than me the software, which software is good for this and that. Yeah. Okay. So whenever you have question, please ask. Okay. So linear multimedia, as I explained just now, linear multimedia is meant to read something else from A to Z. Okay. From the start point to the end point. A cliche example would be the books. You need to read from the first page until the last page. Okay. But of course, not all the books present the data or the information or the flow of the storyline in a linear way. Some book, like what I mentioned just now, for example, the novel Goosebumps, it may be exception. Is an exception. It might be sort of non-linear multimedia. That is because it will direct you to different pages, dependence on the choice of the plots over there. Okay, linear multimedia, linear active content progresses without any navigation control for the viewer. So without any navigation control, this would be the key point for this one. Okay, so if and only if the media do provide you navigation control, which means you can control, I want to opt for new A, so I click on new A, and then it prompt out another page. This is the new A. Inside new A, you got one fried chicken, one Pepsi, one this and that. This would be a navigation control with it. but some multimedia doesn't allow you to do so. So those multimedia will be characterized under linear multimedia. So the user sit back and watches the presentation. So basically, you have no control lah. You just sit back there, sit over there, and then just watch whatever the system, the multimedia display you. Okay. The presentation normally plays from start to end and even loops continuously present the information. For example, a movie, a book is a very common example of linear multimedia. So you can do nothing like unlike you are watching the video or a movie on your own computer. You can keep on fast forward, some boring plot, you keep on fast forward. Okay, then that part will be the non-linear multimedia. But the original intended movie, like you go to a cinema, it would be a linear multimedia because you cannot click any fast forward. You don't have any navigation control over there. Okay. Non-linear multimedia, as I mentioned before, those that are not linear, which means you are non-linear lah. Okay. Non-linear content offer user interactivity. So the main point here would be user interactivity. It allows the user to have certain control. Depends on the flexibility. Some multimedia allow you to have high flexibility of control. So if the non-linear multimedia offer you a very high flexibility to control over the system itself, so you it may not suitable for layman. For example, just now I do mention some software require a stepper learning curve, right? But some like the unusual engine, am I remember correct? Okay, to render the animations. So some is for layman. You can create the video games very easy without learning the HTML and etc. So that would be sort of low degree of non-linear multimedia. But some high level of non-linear multimedia is require you to enter a lot of different parameters, like in MATLAB. For example, fuzzy zeaming. Fuzzy zeaming, you can actually fuzzy zeaming is a fuzzy clustering method. FCM. Fuzzy zeaming. So fuzzy zeaming actually require how many input? The cluster center, the number of cluster, at least two inputs. The cluster center, the number of cluster. For example, I have an image. I want to cluster this image into 3 clusters. So cluster 1, 2, 3. So for this parameter, it would be 3. And for each one, this one I will assign, because the value of the intensity is 0 to 255, right? 0 would be for black, 255 would be for white color intensity. So let's say this one I want to assign 25, which is more on black. This one I want to assign it like 100 gray, and this one like 250 white color. So I want to partition this input image into 3 different images, which is the black image, the gray image, the image with white object. So this is the first parameter here, and this value here will be the second parameter here, and I will get the final output. So depends on the degree of control. But in MATLAB, we also the MATLAB by default the MATLAB offer you FCM, but you do not need to put in all this. It will automatic. I think you need to put in how many cluster, but you don't need to put in how many cluster center. So it will reduce the degree of control, navigation control over that. So it will not suitable to layman. So if you want to have better control over the algorithm, over the multimedia itself, perhaps you will need to insert more parameter so that you have a higher degree. Okay. It is like how you define a people like. If you let's say you have a new friend. Oh, my friend, she has a long hair. Oh, this is my friend. Maybe Alice. So Alice law. What else you know? You know nothing. But I can describe it in a higher level. Oh, she has a long hair. with spec, maybe with brace, she like a yellow color, something like that. So that would the higher the descriptions, the higher the level of navigation control, and the higher the level the non-linear multimedia is it. Okay, so the user control the delivery of media elements. User have the ability to move around or follow different paths through the information presentation. So advantage would be complex domain of information can be represented. So sometimes the non-linear multimedia is very suitable for complex presentations. So for example, you click on this bold hyperlink, or it will bring you or prompt another page. But if you want to write your user interactive is meant to be something like that, so it will be very lengthy and very boring. So in order to have more and more effective interaction, especially using the virtual platform, so we would usually prefer a non-linear multimedia. And sometimes non-linear multimedia allows the user to present the data, the information, or the presentation more interesting, present in a better way, I would say, better to arrange the data and rather than put everything in one page. Okay, the disadvantage would be the user might lost in a massive information highway because you have many different prompt page. For example, you click into one website, for example Wikipedia, and then you search for someone else, and then you click on for example you search for Newton, and then you click on the Newton name, it will prompt out this and that, and then you back to the original page, and then you search for the history, the contributions, and then you click on the first paper, it prompt you another the first paper from Newton, and then you read, and then later you don't know which page you are now. So if you want to go back to the original page and you don't know which page is actually original page because you already lost in the information highway. Okay, so this is part of the disadvantage. Okay, pros and cons. Useful for information archive, education, training, and entertainment. Okay, because people like to control over something else. Okay, if you cannot control something else, which means sometimes you feel like you are outsider. Okay, so linear would be the normal text. You will read from the first words until the last word, and then from the first page until the last page. Okay, this is the conventional books. And for hypertext or non-linear, you will have this is the hotspot. The hotspot, which means the hyperlink or any other link. For example, you click on this one, it will prompt you to this page, and then you read. Oh, I found these keywords. I want to know more. I click, and then it will prompt you another page. But sometimes after you reach this one, you don't know how to back to the origin. So this is one of the disadvantage. Okay, and this is how we actually differentiate between the linear and non-linear multimedia. Okay, so any questions so far? Until now, I think to recap everything, we learn the basic elements, the text, graphic, video, audio, animations, the types of multimedia, for example, types of medium, linear, non-linear, the example of linear, perhaps a movie, a books. For non-linear, perhaps the web, internet, the World Wide Web. So in a multimedia system, not the most important, but the core system would be what? The data acquisition system. For example, to snap the video, to record the audio, and etc. The storage, the network support, the processing power, the RAM, the computer or operating system. So so that is there are the common core system in the multimedia. And another information about multimedia is that the basic one, it involves multiple medium, and we did not mean to just put different medium together in one spot, but rather we want to know the interactive And at the end of the day, the multimedia is always interacting with human being. That is why friendly graphic user interface is always important in multimedia. Okay, so any question from you all? Anything do not understand, confused? If nothing, okay. If nothing, then that's all for today. And don't forget this Tuesday we have 2-hour class in order to replace the New Year class. Okay, so I will post again as a reminder in the class, and also the cancellation class and also the replacement class. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So see you all on Thursday. Okay. Thank you, class.